All right, welcome to HoopSpeak Live. I'm Beckley Mason. I'm here with Zach Harper and Ethan Sherwood Strauss. Welcome to our fifth episode. Today's guest is Dan Shanoff of Quickish.com and my man Rob Mahoney from Two Man Game, New York Times. He's written a little bit on ESPN. He kind of has done everything and everything well, and he's got a book about the Mavs. So we'll get to him in the second half. First guest is Shanoff. First off, let's talk LeBron, guys. Congratulations to the Mavs. We'll get to them. We'll talk a lot about the Mavs when Mahoney is around.
No,
So
all LeBron. All LeBron.
all
Never.
LeBron. All Heat.
Boring.
All right, so I wrote something, and we've talked about this a lot off of the air about LeBron and whether we're sad or how we feel about what happened. I was disappointed because I always thought he was better, and certainly some of that intellectual vanity crept in, where I wanted everyone who'd been hating on him as I was defending him to be wrong and for me to be right. I can't imagine that Ethan feels anything similar to that, but perhaps that might have played in a little bit with his reaction to LeBron's failures.
Well, I mean, you see this. I have a little facial hair growth. That's all. LeBron disappointment based. I've been wandering the streets of Oakland, bleary-eyed, and throwing paper bag bottles of various beverages because I'm just so disappointed about it. It is that intellectual vanity because all the people who were more analytically minded were touting LeBron's credentials against all those seemingly false memes about hard and choking, and this is going to show all those people who dabble in those narratives. And LeBron is a great 3 series before the finals, and all of a sudden plays awfully. You made all of us look bad, LeBron. Please do better next year. What do you think, Zach?
I just think it's weird that, it seems like a progression of, these baby steps for LeBron, where last year he just sucked. He wasn't good in the in the semifinals. He couldn't even win his conference. And now, he closes out his conference. He's ready to take the stage. He beat the Celtics. He beat the Bulls. He was clutch. He destroyed them. And then we get to the finals, and it's kind of the same thing as last year. Now it's like, oh, he's just not capable of winning. It's just too back and forth for me. And I am happy that I'm sad that he lost for the simple fact that I just think it would have been funny for all the backtracking that went on, or that would have gone on. But for the Dallas Mavericks winning, I'm very happy just because, you watch the presentation of their parade and everything. It's just a fun environment, and so I'm glad that we get to concentrate a little bit on another subject than LeBron. But let's talk more LeBron, I guess.
Yes, more LeBron. Actually, let's talk about you, Zach. Can we get a shot of Zach and me up there? I would really like
That's
to
weird.
compliment you on your attire today. I know that is your one collared shirt, and I really appreciate you showing up with that. We saw it at Sloan a couple times, and looks even better. You're clean cut. You're in your
You know
home
what?
back in Sacramento. What happened to you?
I'm gonna pull back the fourth wall here and excuse the potential shot here, but
Oh God!
Basketball.
Oh no!
basketball shorts.
Oh nice.
Yeah. So I
got a
only
similar
classed it up
look
from the waist up. I am back in Sacramento. It's hot as hell.
Gonna have the next Anthony Weiner, but go on.
Well, that's for the second segment.
Yeah.
I'm back in
That's why we
Sacramento
ambushed
for a couple
Mahoney.
weeks. Yes. You'll never see it coming.
All right, so were the LeBron haters and the Heat haters, were they right because they lost and because LeBron choked? I mean, we're kind of all admitting that we were somehow wrong with how the Heat played or how LeBron played. Were other people right, or is it some sort of combination here?
Well, I think that the Heat doubters weren't right, and it was a very funny phenomenon. All the people who didn't like the Heat and said they couldn't do it, seemingly they changed their tune once LeBron beat the Celtics and beat the Bulls, and then it was this sort of, oh God, here we go, 5 championships, I was wrong. And then surprisingly, the Dallas Mavericks came out of nowhere, and just a lot of the people who doubted the Heat did not expect the Mavericks to beat them. And that framing led to the Mavericks almost being depicted as the marathon finish line that somehow inexplicably made the Heat bounce back and lose, as opposed to a formidable team that could beat them. So I think that they were right, possibly in their assessments where the Heat couldn't do it, but I didn't see them predicting that at the last instance in the last series.
I think the doubters or the haters or whatever, however we want to put it, like I think they were just kind of lucky. Like this Heat team did accomplish a lot. To have that kind of turnover and to have to adjust, your entire team to accommodate, essentially 3 superstars and then some role players as opposed to just the one superstar before. To do all that, get to the 6th game of the NBA Finals, like that's pretty impressive. And I don't think anyone doubted the Heat out of legitimate basketball strategy. Like, you put the 2 best players in the world on the same team, you're going to expect them to do very well. I think people just wanted them to be bad and they wanted them to fail, and so they kind of got lucky in that way. I mean, every prediction from the preseason and even going into the playoffs, it's all luck because anything can change that. But essentially, I just don't think there was much thought behind it other than, I hate those guys.
Yeah, I think that they failed, but maybe not for the reason. I mean, I don't think that they thought that they were going to fail basically because one, they would be they'd be holding the ball too much, or that they just wouldn't have enough depth. But the reason that they lost was just because LeBron basically didn't show up. So there's a question about LeBron, believe it or not. Is his game as progressive as we've thought? Feels the same since he was 22. Yeah, I went back and watched the game where he went off against the Pistons in the Eastern Conference Finals. I guess that was 2007. He was 22 and a half. And he looked a little thinner. He went to the basket a lot more. For some reason, Chauncey Billups was guarding him. And maybe it hasn't progressed as much as people think, but I think the subtle ways that he controls the game when he's playing his best is very different than how he would just sort of overrun other teams back in the day. So I think his game has progressed, and I don't think, this is kind of one of those issues where statistically he's not going to change a lot. Kevin Durant is statistically, he'll shoot a little better, but he's not going to score a ton more points. There's no, it doesn't, the trend of improvement doesn't go infinitely. So I think that the subtle adjustments are harder to evaluate, but I think he's made some.
I think it's definitely progressed. I mean, you look at his shooting percentage from long twos, from 16 to 23 feet. It has improved every year for 5 years in a row. So, I mean, he's people say, oh, he needs to get in the gym and work on his game. He works on his game. Every player in the league outside of, probably Anthony Randolph, sorry, Ethan, works on his game immensely. But, he has certain limitations. He's such a big guy, and he's really not that skilled at dribbling. We know he can drive, but he likes to go to his left to get that pull-up jumper, but he can't drive with his left all that efficiently because he's not a strong dribbler with his left hand. So outside of working on a post game, which I don't know why you would take the best, one of the best perimeter offensive weapons in the league and just say, hey, put him in the post, that's going to solve everything. It will help a little bit, and his post game isn't that bad. It's not great, but it's not that bad. But as far as progressing, he's getting better, at least from a shooting standpoint and from a decision making standpoint when the finals aren't on the line.
Yeah, I think the whole post-game meme is a little ridiculous. I think that we often as fans, we think about basketball players as these World of Warcraft characters where we can just add attributes, and it's so simple. Just add that. Why doesn't he just add that? And we forget that this is at the highest level, and that many of these guys are just intrinsically bad or good at certain things. I mean, I think LeBron has stupid feet. I think he doesn't have good footwork, and a lot of that is just an intrinsic quality. Zach Randolph probably has the best footwork in the NBA. Do you think Zach Randolph outworks everybody to get that? I highly doubt it. So while there are aspects that LeBron can obviously improve, I think that we're a little foolish in thinking that a post game is going to be some magic bullet that you can just achieve through puritanical work ethic. I think that is a bit of some flawed thinking.